with the second game of the Match Play Championship Consolation final. For those of you who just saw, we had my GAMP has to update. We had Dan and PMJ, Dan on TTO and PMJ on Yavin 4 Ops, so all space all the time. And PMJ won that game by 6. So okay, so it wasn't just me. That's good. All right, so we'll get into it here. Joined again by Corin. So we got 2 people on the stream this time. Yeah, I've currently nobody streaming. Currently nobody watching, but they'll catch up. All right, so we got ISB against Hitco. Oh. Sorry, Adam, let me see real quick if I can fix that. I am no expert in this, so we will see. They said they can't hear Corin, so let me just kind of move this all the way up. How about now? Yeah, chat, just keep letting us know if you can hear him or not. I will try to cover solo as much as I can otherwise. Audio is very low for Corin. Okay. No, I have it set, but JediCon's just saying your audio is really low. So let me see if I can fix that easily enough. The answer is almost certainly not, but all right. In the meantime, as the game is progressing, we're just kind of getting to the beginning of stuff. Looks like Dan led off with a Rebel leadership to pick up General Leia. This is actually a matchup that Dan was asking for some help with deck choices yesterday and talked to me about it, and he kind of anticipated that this might be the matchup. So, Corin, I don't know if you can just increase your mic volume because I am failing this.
So when you look at the audio mixer on your Streamlabs, is there something that says desktop audio versus mic flat?
Yes.
So turn up the desktop audio. The desktop audio is me. The mic flat oxygen.
Desktop is all the way maxed.
It's all the way maxed. Okay.
Yeah.
Am I coming through Discord loud enough?
I can hear you just fine.
You can hear me just fine?
Yep.
I mean, my everything is about as loud as it goes. But because it's a matter of how. It's gonna be a matter of how loud it's coming out of your Discord.
Yeah, and I can hear it just fine. So, All right. Well, sorry, team. Let me see if I can. I wonder if maybe if I could increase my mic aux audio. I suppose we'll see if that. Well.
That'll make you louder.
Oh, but I can also decrease. I can also decrease the mic input on mine. Well. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Chat, let us know if that fixes it at all. If not, we will work with it as best we can. So into the game here. Looks like PMJ is just kind of doing standard activation things. He pulled Executor Docking Bay. He used Quad Drivers to get the Bespin system. And my understanding is that these guys are teammates. And from what we saw of Dan's game with ISB the other day, the Bespin system and the Mustafar system were the 2 that he was running. With the Imperial Enforcement start, it's obviously Imperial focused, but there's a number of Star Destroyers to hold space and walkers and stuff to hold the exterior locations on the ground. Obviously that's not going to work at the Chief Sherpa's hut, but and this is actually one of the reasons that that when Dan and I talked about it, I suggested Hitco. We'll see how much of it actually comes into play here, but my experience with Hitco has been that it's a little better against walkers than TRM is, but then again, I'm sitting at home while Dan's playing the game, so we'll see.
You shall see.
So Dan, not a great opening hand here. He pulled the home one docking bay and then is just drawing a bunch of cards. So both of them kind of getting set here. Bit of a see around kid to pull from force pile. Yes, Adam Dan is also sitting at home. And I guess I could be playing a game while I do this, although that would not probably be the greatest for, commentary's sake. Corin, you and I just decided, screw it, we're just going to play our own Gemp game.
Yeah, it's the thing.
We'll like reenact the like 98 World Championships or something. All right.
98 World Championships. So that would be.
I don't know, whatever ones are on Gemp.
I, yeah, I was thinking 98 would have been probably special edition.
Oh, so that'd be operatives? Oh, yeah.
So it'd be
I mean,
I think that was World.
nothing makes me think of Star Wars more than Clackdoor 7 operative times 32. So, that's what I loved about Star Wars as a kid. So, I don't know. All right, so Dan's pulling the Goldenrod shield. Um, Likely trying to cover the possible Blizzard 4. So the deck runs a bunch of Star Destroyers, so probably not Emperor Shuttle.
I one of my big soapboxes is that I think people pull those goldenrod shields prematurely.
Well,
There are definitely times that it's good, but it just I don't know.
I mean, I think the main thing here is that with only 11 activation, the Goldenrod shield would kind of choke PMJ. If he decided to go with Blizzard 4, it would be pretty much committed to just Blizzard 4. They wouldn't be able to really put a lot to back it up, which would play well into what Dan wants to happen. Because, I mean, what the light side mains deck is ideally going to try to do is get a beat down in somewhere. Now, of course, one of the nice things about this deck, the Hitco versus TRMs, the Hitco has a little bit more potential for drains. By pulling Prophecy of the Force over to a battleground, you can get a drain of 3 set up, and Hitco still being a battling deck against a deck that is not quite as capable of battling as well as like a hunt down deck or something can. Um,
So PMJ revealed in the chat that there is resistance in game.
penetrate,
That's
yes,
important.
penetrating observation. Uh, um, but the hope is that it would be difficult for it'll be difficult for ISB to maintain resistance, um, so that Dan can continue drains of 3 or 4. So we have the Seeking an Audience tech that has, from what I've seen, a lot replaced the Were You Looking for Me? Because it lets you pull the R2D2V, which he's going to use to make a battleground out of the Imperial Square. Um, and we got a couple of resistance characters hanging out now.
I love R2D2V.
Yeah, when I first saw that tech, I think Joe Olson, I think, or Rebel Spy was the one that I saw had that tech first. I don't know that he's the one who came up with it, but that's the deck I saw first, so he's the one I'm going to give credit to. And um, I actually think it's really, I think it's actually really good. Having the 5 Destiny cyclable interrupt to pull 3PO is certainly strong. But the fact that Seeking Audience can pull either one of them and can pull either one of them all the time, as long as one of them's not on the table. Particularly since R2 can go back to use once a game, so you can pull him again later on if you want to go back to the square or go to a different non-battleground. Okay, so Dark Side's draining for 1 here. is the other thing. Is for Darkseid to do a lot of drain damage, they're going to need to be doing ISB agent stuff on the ground, which is certainly a hope, which is certainly like a goal, like what they're trying to do. Um, the deck also runs Admiral Chirino to be able to drain more in space. The trick, of course, is finding the Admiral Chirino, which is not super difficult because they're going to be running a number of Imperial commands. Yeah, Jedicon, that's a good point. Since after PMJ deployed all this stuff to space, he only had 5 cards left in hand. There's not a lot. Like, he could certainly deploy a bunch of stuff. And I mean, I've had a similar build of ISB deploy 8 characters out of 4 cards in hand against me, which was super exciting. Because Tarkin's a great card. But it would require a lot of things to go right, especially with not a whole ton of force to work with. So yeah, he's going to drain for 1, pull the Mustafar site. You'd kind of have to imagine that there's going to be a battle order shield coming pretty soon here so that he doesn't eat a drain of 3 for free. One of the other things is the builds of ISB that I've seen lately, especially with the Imperial Enforcement, big reason they do that is because they run a number of Emperors. So increasing the average desting the deck, Emperor giving you a potential for a free verify of your deck during your opponent's turn. Obviously, you have Imperial Arrest Order, so you can search on your turn, but being able to search for Force Lightning on your opponent's turn, also just having Force Lightning. Force Lightning is a great way to beat R2-D2 here. But since Lightside was able to get to the Imperial Square first, Darkseid doesn't have a place where they can deploy the Emperor on Coruscant, because they're not allowed to, because that's how Imperial Square works. Control Emperor may not deploy to Coruscant. So they can deploy a character to the Imperial Square, and then another spy to the Council Chamber, and then Emperor to Coruscant, I guess, if they want to, but that's kind of a lot of work.
Also can't deploy the Emperor to a place where
Right, so
it's got people at it.
yeah, so we wouldn't be able to deploy the Emperor to the Imperial Square no matter what at this point, but and there's Admiral.
Anywhere on Coruscant.
Yeah, and there's Admiral Cherno, so there is going to be the Drina 2 in space now.
Dan says, negotiating forces.
Yeah. Yeah, so ignoring that Dan had shared his list with me from having watched his game before, I would expect several Star Destroyers, Death Squadron assignments, because it pulls Stalker and Vengeance and a number of things. Pulls Ozzel, although I guess not anymore. It could actually pull the Executor, and that's actually, I don't know if that's something that they might go for with the Bespin system. It's tough because you'd have to find the they must never again leave this city effect. And since they're not playing We Must Accelerate and Blockade Flagship Bridge, you lose one of the easiest ways to find it. Although Tarkin's Bounty will certainly have many, many targets out of this deck. So there's the Death Squadron assignment. Pulling the Vengeance. I love the Vengeance. I said this in the game with Dan. Vengeance is such a good ship. That is the set 11 Star Destroyer. And no battle order, so Dan is going to just get to drain for 3 at no cost here. PMJ is losing an Emperor Palpatine from hand, as we spent a lot of time just discussing now. Imperial Decree V from hand. And that Death Squadron assignment's remused. And then it's going to pull the Prophecy of the Force over to the now Battleground Imperial Square. which does mean that drain's going to be a drain of 4 later. So it's kind of incumbent now on PMJ to spread out a bit and satisfy resistance, or at least threaten to do so. All right. Dan was asking PMJ what he'd put him on, and PMJ said TRM or Diplo. So this is TRM adjacent.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but it's they've deviated more now that you have the like my father before me
Yeah,
errata.
yeah, for sure. Um, like my father before me is actually one of the reasons that I think this deck is a little better against a Walker-based deck than TRM is. Um, because with all the sixes from the Luke Jedi Knights that you play, and then the forfeit boost, or the Destiny boost rather, from like my father, you can actually crack an attrition 6 without too much difficulty. So, not that TRM has a huge difficulty doing that, but it's not quite as easy for them. Alright, so we got Leia's Blaster Rifle pulled by Mandalorian Mishap V, which is a super sweet card. Canceling game text of vote Jodo or Fed, certainly not going to happen in this game. And opponent drawing more than 2 Battle Destiny is possible, but pulling under attack or a blaster, that's the real money. Leia's Blaster Rifle is a formidable card in the meta right now. Dan's going to pull the battle plan now, so seemed like one of them was going to. Just depended on who.
Right. I mean, I guess that's what happens. You gotta get somebody to
Yeah.
pull it.
So it was a kind of a game of chicken. I have found from playing this Hitgo deck a fair bit that you don't end up running through your shields as much as many other decks do. Matchup dependent, obviously, but for instance, in a matchup like this, I don't actually know what other shields might be like really, really mandatory. Like, I would imagine weapons display at some point if there's a barrier or something somewhere along the way. But I mean, because you start aim high, so you have protection from retrieval. A deck like this ISB build, I suppose, could run Sense, but you certainly wouldn't be worried about it until they actually deploy Vader or the Emperor. I mean, one of the great benefits is that means that you can afford to play around things like Lost in the Wilderness and stuff like that. Alright, so PMJ is going to drain for 2. Dan's going to lose the Wisa that he spent to get his Boston Ash Chamber. I think Boston Ash Chamber, yes. Or no, he got the Naboo Battle Planes. So presumably he already has the Boston Ash Chamber from something else? Or maybe it's in Force. Maybe it's in active. And then lost the Skywalkers from reserve. Okay. And then PMJ's gives up a Verify with the Imperial Arrest Order, and Dan says all 3 Walkers are in the deck still. Okay. So PMJ is going to commit to the ground now. We got Moff Gideon pulling the Stormtrooper Patrol from reserve for free. And that's going to be 4 ISB agents, so that'll flip the ISB objective. And there's the Emperor Palpatine. And Palpatine's going to take a Force Lightning into hand. See, now, of course, the real hairy thing for PMJ is he's facing down Dan having 13 cards in hand and 7 saved Force with 13 activation. So there could be a real fight at the Cloud City site in a minute here. Yeah, sorry guys, I don't know what's going on with the sound on Kendall's side. So
If only I knew timeline.
I mean our images are pretty small too, so I don't know if that would even help. All right, I'll try to cover it as much as I can still. So yeah, no ISB agents in lost to retrieve. Dan just gonna activate his full 7, spend 3 to drain for 4 at the Imperial Square. Yeah, Jedicon, you're right. One of the things that this deck really wants to do is get Moff Gideon at the Imperial Square so that you can reduce the deploy cost of all of your cards. So we got an imbalance, Blizzard 1, Blizzard 4, and Imperial Command all lost from reserve from the drain of 4. So if Dan's to be believed, there's only one Walker left in the deck at this point. Interesting. So we have Luke Jedi Knight going over to the Chief Chirpa's hut. I'll be honest, that's not what I would have thought would happen. And then we have the Naboo battle planes being deployed too, with Rey with lightsaber. So Dan's just trying to spread here, which is pretty reasonable. I mean, both of them activating a ton of force now and similar sized hands, but the way the force is split up here, I mean, you know, since they're both activating so much this early in the game, Dan can afford to pay for all 3 of these drains of a lot.
Yeah, and if you can get ahead on cards, ISP likes to put a lot of cards on the table. So.
Yeah, no, definitely right. Corin's saying that if um, if Dan can get ahead and put pressure on him, ISB kind of has to put a lot of cards on the table in order to make a lot of things happen, and that's going to put a lot of pressure on trying to maintain everything here. This is still just so interesting for me because I don't know. Maybe this is just my battle sensibilities, but if I had Luke Jedi Knight and a saber and a Rey with lightsaber in hand, I think I would have gone after that stack on the ground. Um,
It's a matter of who's the beatdown, like they say.
yeah. I mean, I can understand holding back the solo because there's a known force lightning, so you don't necessarily want to just walk solo into that. Um, on the other hand, you did get to verify his deck the last turn, so you might have a sense of the destinies and see whether you think that that's a reasonable gamble to take. Also, of course, getting him to use his Force Lightning would then enable you to swing more easily at the remaining targets. So, I don't know. I guess it's also a consideration of what was actually in Dan's reserve. His destinies might have been bad enough that he didn't want to risk it. Although he just peeled 2 5s from top, so yeah, I don't know. Maybe Dan's a little gun shy after game 2 of his semifinal match yesterday, where he played aggressively against CCT and got punished pretty bad for it on a couple of occasions. There were 3 force saved, so
PMJ has 8 cards in hand, but it's like, how much, how can he go after? Because those are, he's got solid forces at all 3 of those sites. Can PMJ come down against the Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight, or a solo with Rey, or a Tui with Leia, and all that stuff?
yeah. I mean, and this is the other reason that I'm not certain I liked Dan taking this line is with everything he's deployed now. There's not that much offensive force left in his deck to go after Emperor and this stack at the Cloud City site, um, because PMJ is now satisfying resistance, so all these drains are capped at 2. Now, admittedly, 2 of them are only 2. We're only going to be 2 anyway, so that is not a huge cap. But capping the Imperial Square is a big deal. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I would have been inclined to go a little more aggressively, but we'll see how this pans out. So yeah, we've got Dan just paying for a bunch of drains, which he certainly has plenty of force to do. And so far we've just been peeling interrupts. Those masterful move combo, Tarkin's orders, Gick, Sense, Trample. Lieutenant Paltradium, there's finally an Imperial in Lost Pile. PMJ also deployed a sizable Space Force to Bespin.
Right, right. He's got a lot of cards in space and a lot of cards
Yeah.
potentially. Maybe he's got a handful of characters, and Dan. If Dan came after, if you did a bloodbath somewhere, he might come out on top. But Dan can just death by a million cuts or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, so that's the other thing is I'd like this a little more if Dan had won game one, or like maybe had won by a fairly significant margin. But since it was a win by 6, you know, a win by 6 for PMJ even, it's a little, it could kind of go either way there. Uh, so yeah, we'll see. Should stop critiquing his play before it actually pans out. So Dan's going to be drawing up a bunch more cards here. And then puts one back with Like My Father. So our life force counts are now 17 to 19, with Dan having 17 to 19 in favor of PMJ, with Dan having 4 more cards in hand. So pretty even, actually. Of course, big difference is that PMJ is doing his drains of 6 for free.
Definitely a thing that will come into play.
Yeah. I kind of wonder, given that he went through the trouble of sending Luke to the Chief Chirpus Hut, if he shouldn't have just pulled Prophecy of the Force over to Chief Chirpus Hut so that it couldn't leave. Because now Prophecy of the Force is just going to go bounce back and forth between the battleground sites for a while, which I suppose is fine. It's not impacting anyone's drains, but PMJ.
But if we get to a point where Dan can't pay for the drains, if Prophecy of the Force is still bouncing around, then that might cause some trouble.
Yeah. Anytime, yeah. If he gets to a point where he has to leave Prophecy of the Force on the Cloud City site, yeah, that's pretty bad. Although I suppose if he was really worried about Dan is also satisfying Ultimatum, so that could be a thing. PMJ just activating everything, so I'm not sure what the end game of that is going to be.
He's got 8 cards in hand.
Yeah.
Coming after Luke or coming after one of the other.
I mean, going after any of those sites without having any Battle Destiny to draw would be ambitious.
Oh well, yeah, that's. But if you drop against Luke and don't battle.
I mean, if you drop against Luke and don't battle, you're kind of asking for it, especially with your Gek lost.
Maybe I don't know. I don't know how ISC works. Maybe they don't have to draw battle destiny.
I mean, it's certainly enough force to drop a lot of power on Luke, but I mean, the other trouble is that there's weapons on all 3 of these sites, so like you have to be worried about Sorry About the Mess against Rey and Solo. You have to be worried about Clash. Like, yeah, I don't think that this is I don't think that dropping a bunch of stuff in front of them and just sitting and blocking the drain is a good way to go. Yeah, JediCon, you're right. Expand the Empire would be pretty gross here. The classic expand the Empire on the Boss Nass chambers so that Lightside can't drain at the battle plane. And yeah, the Luke Chirano is out on the is one of the many pilots on the Stalker. It moves too far. So Dan just losing a bunch of stuff. Appeal to Cassian from hand, Hera from hand, Gift of the Mentor from hand, the under attack. Gift of the Mentor, the multiple battle destinies card with Luke and Obi-Wan. Yeah, looks that would be pretty good. 5d6 and never Yarnall to kill R2. I guess the trouble with that is that that wouldn't really get him anywhere since he's still paying to drain and has enough battlegrounds to satisfy Coward anyway. So okay, so we got Vader and Tarkin, although not the typical Vader Tarkin combo, going to the Boss Nass Chamber. And the Luke's, yeah, that's another good point. The Imperial Enforcer version would not be running 5d6, because that would be kind of a disaster. Yeah, so PMJ kind of doing what JediCon and the chat kind of thought he was going to, deploy some stuff to the Boss Nass Chamber and threaten some drain. Um, and then we've seen it. This is where I worry about Dan's line here is that there's not really that much left that he can come back with. Um,
Yeah, he's gonna be losing some forces soon.
yeah, because the restriction on this is certainly one of the big drawbacks to Hitco versus throwing him aside from not playing first, is that there's definitely no Anakin, there's no Qui-Gon, there can't be a Mace. There's with Rey deployed, Luke deployed, Leia deployed, like there's not that much left here uh, to come back and battle against Tarkin and Vader with if you wanted to. Dan's trying to revert because he activated too much. I mean, JediCon, he could certainly have denied the revert, but I mean, activating too much is a revert that you get in real life all the time anyway. So I don't know.
I think that's perfectly.
Yeah,
That's perfectly reasonable.
yeah. Um,
I would never say that anyone has to, but that's a situation where you just, yeah, it was like a,
yeah.
like saying we just, you know, you, yeah,
And then to answer JediCon, which you previously asked, yeah, I mean the main threats to Vader and Tarkin here would probably be Ahsoka and Obi-Wan.
whoever he's threatening only gets one destiny.
Yeah. So yeah, it wouldn't even really be EPP Obi-Wan then. Okay, Ahsoka going down against the Emperor. That's exciting. Well, Obi and Clash. The trouble with Obi and Clash is that what you really want to do is Clash Vader, which you can't do. Now you could play Obi-Wan. You could play EPP Obi-Wan and Padme, and Clash Vader, and then just beat the hell out of Tarkin. That you could do.
Even if you did drop Obi and Clash, Tarkin, Obi and Ahsoka versus Vader would
Oh yeah, Obi and
advantage there.
yeah, Obi and Ahsoka against Vader would be pretty good. Um, it kind of depends on what Dan has stacked here with 3PO. Yeah, Enforcer's immune to Clash. Interesting. So we've deployed Ahsoka, and then oh no, and then Dan plays Odin Nestor combo to try to transport some people over to somewhere, and PMJ has the Dark Time to make that Destiny a 7, which he does not have the Force to pay for. Wow, that's the first time I think I've ever seen that happen to an Odin Nestor combo. That's exciting. Well, I kind of had the feeling that Ahsoka's about to have a bad time because I think she was supposed to have some backup, and that doesn't seem to be happening. So we got Rey and Solo moving over to stand in front of Vader and Tarkin, which could be could be kind of a disastrous battle. Because if PMJ just has, if PMJ has another two ISB agents here,
Right, right. He's got, I mean, yeah, because he's got some cards in hand.
yeah. Although nope, Solo is staying over at the Boston at the battle planes, and Rey alone is standing at the Boston chamber. So kind of similar. That could be kind of a disastrous battle. On the other hand, as we were saying before, there's still the threat of clash. There's still the threat of sorry about the mess, and we know the imbalance combo and the sense were lost to drains earlier. So that limits the possible answers to sorry about the mess here. And dropping two more ISB agents to do a big fight against Rey here wouldn't work out if you had the sorry about the mess, or potentially might not work out if you had the sorry about the mess. Like Tarkin's a low enough defense value that Rey might well be able to hit him with just one destiny. So you're getting pretty low though. PMJ is up 19 over Dan's 11. Yeah, Dan was saying in the chat that there were a lot of ISB agents in the reserve when they just did that verify.
If they're all in the reserve, they're not in his hand.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and if they're in the reserve, they are bad destinies to draw.
Yeah.
Um, and Lightside is also has also turned off Imperial Enforcement because they're occupying 5 locations. So yeah, and I mean this is the trouble with the drain race, uh, is that Lightside didn't Lightside didn't knock Darkside off of the battleground site, so they get to drain for free. So they get to do this drain every turn. Yeah, yeah, Jetticon exactly. Like it's different if both sides have to pay for the drains every turn. Um, but since Darkseid gets to do them for free, and then they get to spend all their force deploying all this backup, uh, yeah, that's. I feel like I'm harping on it and I apologize to Dan if he watches this back, but like this is why to me I would have gone after the stack. Like Gideon Stormtrooper Patrol Emperor is just not even that threatening. Like you'd outpower them with Rey and Luke. Anyway, ship has sailed on that. So let's see what Dan can do to pick this up. Is asking why there was a drain of 2. PMJ is asking why he drained for 2 at Bespin. He's been draining for 2 at Bespin the whole game. I don't. PMJ asks, why did I drain for 2 there? And Dan says, to win the game?
It's because of Cherno.
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly because of Cherno. PMJ forgot that Cherno works at systems within parsecs. That makes sense. He's pretty good, I guess. Yes, PMJ Cherno is pretty good. I do wonder, seeing this deck play out, I do wonder how this deck would do against your new favorite light side deck, Corn. Um,
Favorite light side deck? What's that?
Mind what you have learned.
Oh, my Wheel Line?
Because if Mind What You Have Learned, if Mind What You Have Learned was going on, all of this force deployment would have generated drains of 3, like 3 total across 6 locations. Um, oh, there's the last walker. Is there a General Veers to go with it?
Yeah, I mean, I really, the idea of a Mind What You Have Learned
Getting rid of the drain bonuses and getting the redraw on Yoda, yeah, that's pretty strong.
Like if you could build a deck and like just kind of be planning on like not even play most of the stuff that adds to the destiny, like just like plan on blind drawing a six like in your first few turns or something.
Hmm.
Uh, like and then just like the rest of the deck is just an ink deck. I think there's some. I really think there's something there.
I mean, if Ryan Surson and his primer on the deck are to be believed, that's pretty much got to be the plan against Imperial Enforcement because you can't really do anything else. So, all right. So in this battle, Darkseid drew a Death Squadron assignment, which was reduced to a 3, which Ahsoka is immune to. And Ahsoka drew a 6, so that went about as well as possible. And then afterwards, Lightside still owes 9. So we got the Lando from hand, Clash from reserve, and Ahsoka forfeiting to cover the rest. So, yeah, unfortunately, Dan down to 11 force and 5 cards in hand. There's just, it's hard to see what else Dan could do here. Because Darkseid even has still a Destiny to battle and clear Ray if they want to. Although that battle would be pretty aggressive. So we did see the Padme get lost as well. Padme was lost, I believe, to the force drains along the way here. Yeah, the drain 2 at Bespin took out Padme. PMJ asking why he didn't retrieve with enforcement. Well, because Lightside was occupying 5 sites. I wonder if I should tell him.
Well, he's saying 3PO doesn't occupy.
Yeah, but Ahsoka did.
Oh, but Ahsoka did.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. Yeah, what PMJ is wondering about is he was under the impression since Ahsoka was lost in that battle that she wouldn't count, but yeah, it's when power is calculated and the winner of the battle is determined. Lightside is occupying 5 locations, so enforcement is turned off.
Star Wars canon.
Yeah,
Crazy.
I mean I've seen worse. I've seen much worse. All right, so Tarkin and Vader moving over to stand in front of Solo. Uh, yeah, it's yeah, and Dan's gonna concede at this point. So that's the end of that one. Congratulations to PMJ as the winner of the NPC Consolation event. Dan off to a good start, and then they got into a dream race that did not go well. So yeah, and they're talking about the game, and Dan and PMJ both agreeing that deploying Luke Tandor was the mistake. So such as it is, we live and we learn. So there'll be many more tournaments for Dan to make it up. So and Dan saying he's happy getting second. So all right, well, thanks everybody for joining us and watching in. There are 13 people watching on GIMP and 19 in the stream, so certainly appreciate it. Sorry we couldn't get the sound to work better, but hopefully were you not entertained? I haven't watched Gladiator in like 15 years, so I don't know. But I don't actually. Normally I would chill for some of the other stuff coming up, but I presume Goglin's still doing his show tomorrow, and I know Jerry said he's not going to be on Hollow Theater this week, I think, because he's working. So we'll see what Dan has.
Big episode of Bad Deck Breakdown is going to be released on Tuesday.
Ah,
interview with Mark Walseth.
there you go. So if you couldn't hear Corin, he said a big episode of Bad Deck Breakdowns coming up on Tuesday. They have an interview with Mark Walseth from the Minneapolis area, right? Minneapolis area, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, or somewhere in Minnesota.
Yeah, yeah, the Minnesota crew up there. So, yeah, so yeah. Well, thanks everybody for showing up, and I'm gonna sign off the stream now. You guys all have a good rest of your weekend and a good week, and stay safe out there, and may the force be with you.